Well, welcome in everybody again to this pre-Mother's Day edition of the Best Golf Podcast going. You know what that is, the 19th Hole Podcast for golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers. We thank you for tuning in today. We've got a very, very great guest. The show's going to be very informative. Everything we're going to talk about is going to help you hopefully and help your golf game as well. The weather here in Las Vegas is getting hot. I love it. You know, I'm a hot weather guy, but we're also getting some winds. In fact, they said the winds on Mother's Day on Sunday are going to be 35, 40 miles an hour. So they're saying, hey, if you got plans with your wife or your mother or whatever, don't do it outside because everything's going to be blowing away. But, you know, we get a lot of wind here in the springtime, but nothing this excessive. It seems I can't remember it for a long time. Anyway, everybody who plays golf knows that being in good condition, having some degree of flexibility is not only good for your everyday life, but it also is going to help your golf game tremendously. And I know the guys that I play with are fairly athletic. You know, they're doing the stretching, they go to the gym and, you know, that type of thing. So we have a gentleman on today that's going to tell you just how helpful it is, just what you need to do if you want to feel better, if you want that to translate into your golf game. So let me tell you about our guest, David Donatucci, and I love that name. Every time I say it, I want a glass of Chianti or a plate of pasta or something. But David began his sports performance career in 1991 at the Cleveland Clinic Foundation in Ohio, of course. During his time there, David earned a master's degree from Cleveland State in exercise science and became the director of the Center for Athletic Performance. After 9 years or so working for the International Performance Institute, David accepted a position with the PGA of America as the Director of Fitness and Performance. In 2012, David opened up his own performance center, the Florida Institute of Performance, and David has expanded his business now and is now the general manager of Ary Center for Athletic Development in Jupiter, Florida, a great part of the state. David is a certified strength and conditioning specialist and is also an advisory board member for the Titleist Performance Institute and a subject matter, I'm going to ask him about this, a subject matter expert in fitness and golf for the PGA of America. So without further ado, let's bring our special guest up, David Donatucci, and welcome him to the show. David, I appreciate you taking time out between reps, I guess, to spend a little time with us on the show. Welcome.
No, I appreciate it, Dennis. Thanks very much for having me.
Let me ask you this. I mentioned what exactly, explain to me, please, and our viewers, what the subject matter expert in fitness and golf is. What do they mean by that?
Well, it's basically I'm an expert in the area of fitness for the PGA of America. So one of the things, when I first took over the role as Director of Fitness for PGA of America, they have a number of PGA professionals. In order for you to become a PGA of America member, you have to go through a 3-part course curriculum to help your teaching, to help you basically excel at teaching and the business of golf. And one of the areas that basically they had a whole book on golf, and it was a real thick book. However, there was like 3 or 4 pages that were dedicated to fitness. So
Right.
That's kind of more where I kind of came in to say, hey, there is this area that we need to look at, which is more the body, and really kind of tying in a lot of the individuals to say, you know, the swing faults aren't always in, you know, the angle of attack, the approach, right, the ball flight, all that sort of thing. That the body has to swing the golf club, and there might be some things that are, you know, incorrect or moving incorrectly with the body that are affecting the overall play of that person.
Gotcha. How did you get interested in getting into the fitness business as a career?
As a career, it was I'll go back more to being a frustrated high school athlete, and I started kind of doing more workouts on my own and doing some things. And at the time that I was in high school, it was more of the local YMCA's were the place to go and do some things. And now everything has kind of expanded beyond that. But really trying to find some ways to get myself better, to get workout. And doing those types of things. And it was just, at 18 years old, when you're going off to school, it's, hey, what do I want to be when I grow up type of thing. And, my mother said, why don't you do something that you really enjoy, which is something with fitness. And that was more along the lines of how I kind of got started with everything. So that's really how that started. And I'm going back to, I graduated college. I'm going to age myself here. I graduated college in 1989. And at that time, there really wasn't the diverse curriculums that we have today with exercise physiology and kinesiology and all those sort of things, where every school seems to have that. When I started, I was in the physical education track, which was the main one, which everybody kind of put into for the physical fitness component of some things. And then as I was going through that track, they started the exercise science program, where I went to undergraduate school, University of Dayton, and that's kind of how I kind of fell into that path with the really the pushing of my advisor to say, I think this should probably be a better track for you to go into.
Right. Well, it's working out obviously very, very well. You mentioned kinesiology. There are a number of what I consider very good teaching professionals around, David, that tell people they're well versed in kinesiology. It's going to help them with their full swing, so on and so forth. Do you really think that's a good selling point to the average weekend player? Do they really understand what that's all about?
If it's explained in their terms, yes. Because again, kinesiology is really the study of human movement, right? Mm-hmm. So every time we go through that, is you have to have an understanding of that. And what where I look at some things is every teacher should have a way of really understanding the human body, and then looking at some things to say, how do I then put that into practice with my teaching? However, as I was told a long time ago, a man with one butt cannot ride two horses. So you're either really good at golf teaching, or you're really good at the physiology, the kinesiology component.
Right.
You have to be good at both. So you really kind of need, and that's really where a lot of people kind of present is they have like a team approach. To where I'm going to look at this and say, hey, I'm going to talk to you about the teaching or the golf swing component. But hey, I only know so much regarding the body, and I think you need to get yourself somebody that can kind of help you with that. And that was kind of really what my education, which was to the teaching professionals of the PGA of America, is that you should know just enough that when you go to talk to somebody who is going to be a fitness expert, you know what you're talking about, or you know what they're saying, and they're not just throwing a cloud of smoke at you to say, throwing all these big, I can throw a bunch of big terms at you, and you're like, oh, this sounds great. But it doesn't mean I know what I'm talking about. And that's really what needs to happen. And that goes back to the student as well, is if I'm giving you a bunch of words that you don't really know what I'm talking about, it's not going to help the student out as well. So, it's really understanding how to apply those types of things in there. And that goes, a lot of the kinesiology is the 3D mechanics and understanding the 3D and the kinematic sequence. And again, all those graphs and all that is great. But if I, as a teacher, don't really understand how to read that, I'm not going to be able to educate my student as to what we just did either.
Exactly. That's well said. Unfortunately, I think, David, in the past, I've dated women where they could ride two horses. They were, they were kind of big in that area. David, how do you explain, though, decades ago in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, there weren't anything like fitness trailers. There weren't nutritional gurus around like there are today, but yet these guys played some great golf. How do you explain that?
It comes back to the same thing, is they have to play, and it's always the saying, as I run into coaches, to say, I don't have to be the most physically fit individual to make a 3-foot putt out on tour. So there's still a lot of things that go along with, that the talent of back then, the 50s, 60s, and 70s, outweighed those guys who were maybe marginal,
Yeah.
that could use the benefit of the physical fitness components and looking a lot of that to help them excel a little bit more or to be a lot better, because we don't know how great these guys could have been
Right.
if they
Exactly.
did put a little bit of things in there. And that was always the things that I looked at, is like there was guys that were on tour, and still guys on tour that are playing, and they're playing at a high level,
Yeah.
but they're not really, utilizing all the resources to their full potential. And it's like, how great could they be?
Yeah,
Or are
could
they
they
just
be right?
comfortable with being there? And I remember I ran into this with a guy that I met quite a few years ago, and he was on tour, and he was at the time 75th on the FedEx Cup rankings. And he's like, I really don't know if I want to go into this physical fitness things, because everybody's telling me how it could affect me negatively and may not be beneficial for me. So I'm really not sure if I want to get into all this. And guess what? 2 years later, he's not playing golf anymore.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where if you're comfortable being mediocre, then this isn't for you. If you want to excel a little bit more, then adding the physical fitness component to that, the nutrition component to that, the mental component to that, is going to help you become a little bit better, even if it's 1% or 2%
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
And that's the things that we don't know back in the day, because you can look at, again, Jack Nicklaus. Why was Jack Nicklaus so great? Well, he did a lot more practicing. He did a lot more of the off the course stuff than the guys did when they were back there playing. And
Yeah.
we don't really have the history of the other guys that are out there as well that were great. And maybe they did it just a little bit more than everybody else. Instead of just showing up with a pack of cigarettes and a couple beers,
Right.
Maybe they did more stuff and they took care of themselves better than the rest of the crew did.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's interesting. David, throughout your career, you've trained athletes in just about every kind of sport, from tennis, hockey, baseball, golf, on and on and on. Is there a sport where a person is more prone to an injury than another?
I mean, I would say, concussions in the contact sports. I mean, I don't really, to say you're more prone to a sport, and they're doing a lot of research on this now to see why some players or some individuals get hurt more often than others, and they're really not finding any type of link to anything in particular. It's all kind of random. It just happens to be one of those things. I remember I had a football player who was a quarterback, and he just ran into a rash of injuries. He was a pretty good quarterback. He was a quarterback for the Jets and went to the Dolphins, and just couldn't stay on the field just for whatever reason. He had a shoulder, he had a elbow, had a couple of shoulder surgeries going on in there, and it just magnified one thing after another. And there was really no rhyme or reason for it or anything. The particular sports, you can have particular injuries that you're looking at as a pitcher. You're going to have, the shoulder and the elbows are going to be, the number one things. You're looking at golf, it's the same thing. You're looking at the back, you're looking at the hips, you're looking at, shoulders, elbows. So, from a sport perspective, there are, certain areas that are, more susceptible to injuries than other sports.
Right.
The jump sports are going to have your knees and your hips, but, in terms of it just kind of varies on everything. And that's really why, from a youth athletic development standpoint, they're really trying to push. They would hope that kids play multiple sports, especially during the early developmental ages.
Sure.
Just to kind of be more well versed in a lot of things and develop some different areas, so that they can. And more of it for me is to decrease the risk of overuse injuries, of just being able to, down here in Florida, they play baseball pretty much 365 days a year. So giving them something else to do besides throwing a baseball all the time or swinging a baseball bat all the time is really a break, and it helps them to kind of take a little bit of something off that joint that maybe is more susceptible to being injured all the time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's concentrate on golf for this question, David. I say that being physically fit will make you much less prone to injury rather than making you a better golfer. You agree or disagree?
I agree to the being more fit is going to help you with the decrease of injury risk. I don't agree with it again, I think there's a positives on both sides, where I think it can help you make you a better golfer as well, to kind of go along with that. The majority of people ages of 50 plus are going to always have some sort of ailments. And I think being more physically fit is going to allow you to play golf more often.
Yeah.
With the ability to not have as many aches and pains ongoing. And I think the combination of being more physically fit is also going to help you play better golf in the long run.
Yeah.
And I was kind of talking to a gentleman this morning who is looking at this from, and we always have two different things, right? You work out to look good, to feel good, or are you working out to play better golf? And I think there can be a nice combination of that you can incorporate into your programs that can kind of benefit you and help you out along the way as well. So knowing where your injuries are currently is a way that can help decrease your amount of injuries. Or as we talked about just a little bit ago, what's the high risk of injury in playing golf? It's a repetitive rotational type of thing. So we have some areas that we need to be looking at, within there, that we make sure that we can kind of stabilize and put those in there as well. But also working on those areas and as we continue that with consistency, is going to help you play better golf.
Right. No doubt about it. All right. And you worked right into my next question before we take our break. What are the most common injuries you see with golfers, David? And what's the most common reason for getting those injuries with all of the people that you've worked with, all of the golfers?
I'm probably going to go to the number one that I can think of off the top of my head right now, which is more of the lower back. And I think the number one reason why most people have lower back injuries when playing golf is just because of, I'll use the term general posture. General posture is where basically the pelvis is going to be tilted forward, and therefore the low back is going to be arched, and that's going to give you a lot of strain in there. And then you're trying to rotate yourself around that lower back.
Right.
And it's just going to, that constant repetition over and over again is causing you to create pain in your lower back, and those are the to me the number one area. And then again, they can lead to hip injuries, or hip stiffness, all those other types of things because of the faulty movement patterns. But the lower back, and it's I wouldn't say the golf swing is causing the low back pain. The posture that you have while you're swinging the golf club, which may be incorrect, is leading to your back pain to go along with it.
That is a very, very good point. And that's why I say, before you tee off, make sure you've got at least a 12-pack, because if you drink enough, you're not going to give a damn what you do. All right, I'll tell you what, we're going to step away, take a short break. We come back, we'll have a lot more with our very interesting guest, David Donatucci, so stay with us. We're going to tee it up right now with JT Fitness and Golf.
Welcome to Tea Time Fitness with Janice. Hi, I'm Janice Thornton, your golf fitness guru. So let's grab a foam roller, because I can guarantee you this guy is going to be your best friend for your golf game. Today we're going to go through a golf stretch for your chest. So go ahead, grab your roller. I want you to lay down, and just lay down lengthwise on the roller, letting your head rest on the roller. Take your arms and just gently let them out to the sides and enjoy this stretch. Keep breathing. If you want to get a little bit deeper, you can bend your arms, elbows in a little bit. You're going to get a little bit deeper stretch. So hold this stretch for a good 30 to 40 seconds, and you're going to find that you absolutely will love that stretch. Are you ready to take your golf game to the next level? Get to jtfitnessandgolf.com.
We all know that just about everything today is getting more expensive, and golf is no exception. Well, I'm here to tell you about one golf company that is designed to save you money. That's right, I said save money. Welcome to breakfastballs.golf, a company that sells the best used golf balls in like new condition at a fraction of the price you'd pay anywhere else. Breakfastballs.golf carries all the popular brands of balls, from Pro Vs to Callaway to TaylorMade to Top Flight and many, many more. They even will ship you colored golf balls if that's your choice. They offer a great membership program as well, where members receive free shipping all of the time, plus great discounts. Save money and time. Go to breakfastballs.golf and check them out. So why not give yourself a breakfast ball on every tee, not just the first? Go to breakfastballs.golf and save money. All right, welcome back in, everybody, to more of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers. By the way, Tanya Terra, who is a brand ambassador for Encore Golf and Technology. They probably make the three best golf balls you could hit today on the course. We're going to try to get her on the show. She's reputed right now to be the best female trick shot artist out there. So we'd love to. We're working hard to get her on the show, and we're going to get her sooner than later. Back with our special guest, David Donatucci. I just love saying that name. As you know, David, lots and lots of discussion about stretching when you play golf. Is stretching the be-all, end-all that golfers seem to think it is?
Not in my opinion, because you have a couple of things. One, if you're going to tell me you're going to go out and play, I'd rather see you do a warm-up prior to going back and playing. And that's just kind of getting your blood flow, getting yourself loosened up, getting your muscles warm and going through there. There's a lot of studies that kind of talk to you about basically stretching, static stretching, holding a stretch for 30 plus seconds prior to any activity decreases your power production or decreases your overall performance. So if you're trying to hit the ball farther, doing a stretch of holding it, like a hamstring stretch or something prior to that is not a good idea. And most of the time when people stretch, they really don't know what they're stretching or what they're supposed to stretch. Most of them just kind of bend over and touch your toes. Well, to me, stretching out your hamstrings may not be the best thing for you, because your hamstrings may be already overstretched because of the way your quote bad posture is. So, doing a warm up and going through some things prior to playing is probably more advantageous, or is more advantageous to go through that. And then kind of looking at some things for more of mobility work, or doing some things where you can go through a range of motion. And I've always said, and looking at something from stretching out my chest. So stretching out my chest is great, but if you don't have the muscular strength to pull my arms back and keep and maintain that position, you're always going to go back to that same, rounded shoulder, bad posture position. So it's a little bit of, a stretching, but a lot of it is more of stretching the opposing muscle groups to make sure you can hold that position and stay in that muscular length, or stay in that better posture throughout the whole time.
Yeah. Two things. Number one, my reputation around here is I've got the tightest hamstrings in the valley. And number two, why does it feel so damn good, David, when somebody stretches you out? I know I love it when that happens.
Well, it's a release, and it's something that, it's like, why does it feel so good when somebody, massages you? It's just your body's going through a little relaxation period. And you look at this and you kind of say the same thing. And I've heard this probably, hundreds of times. Hey, I got really tight hamstrings, but your hamstrings may not be, they may be in response to what's happening in the front side of your body. So meaning that, again, we talked about your posture and your pelvis being tilted. So if we tilt your pelvis forward, basically now your hamstrings are where my thumbs are, that's where they're attached. So they're actually being stretched, and their reaction is to pull back and respond to what's happening in front, because now your front side, where your quads and your hip flexors are, they're the antagonists. So they're pulling against you, and they're the cause of the problem of your hamstrings, which is more of a reaction to some things and going through that, as opposed to saying, hey, my hamstrings are tight. So the body's natural response to when you stretch something out, hey, this feels good, I really like this response, but it may not be curing the problem, or maybe just more leading to what the problem is. And that's why, from anything, getting a pretty good evaluation or getting somebody to tell you, hey, these are the things that I see from a physical standpoint as to what your limitations are, and creating a plan for you is probably the best way of going about it, instead of just kind of aimlessly saying, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this and this, because that's like me trying to do a radio show, right? I really don't know what I'm doing, but hey, if I just talk into a microphone, people listen, I should be fine, right? So and that's kind of the way, same thing it is with fitness, is kind of going through there, is people say, oh, I'm just going to go to the gym and work out, and not really have a plan, not really have a set schedule, and then they get sore, and then they don't want to go back because it hurts too much.
Right.
So that's kind of those things that lead to the overall problem, is to you need to have a really good plan and a structure to kind of go through some things to fix the ailments that you have.
I was going to ask, how would somebody know if they do have a proper warm-up routine? Where could they find it? Do they need some help in getting it?
Yeah, I mean, it's again kind of knowing what your limitations are, but I'll use some simple warm-ups, right? So taking a club and doing the things you do in the golf swing are a good warm-up. One of my favorite things to do is really take a club above your head, and you're just going to lean yourself side to side. So I'm going to lean side to side as far as I can, and I'm going to stretch out and give me a lateral bending of the spine. A lateral bending of the spine, or lateral flexion, allows for greater torso rotation, or greater rotation in the body. And then kind of doing a lateral bending, and then kind of mimicking your body movements or your rotation things. Maybe it's a hands across your shoulder or club across the shoulder, and doing some different types of things, and then kind of doing, more of a dynamic movement where you're working more rotationally, going right side to left side and doing those things. And you really want to try and, from a warm-up standpoint prior to golf, is almost repeat the motion of the swing, or get into the movement of the swing gradually, and then start getting into your more of your warm-up routine on the range.
Right.
So and there's been some things we'll look at and say, what's a warm-up? Simple thing as starting with some small clubs and gradually working up to the larger clubs. You know what? That's a warm-up, because you're gradually warming up your body to get ready for the demands of the golf game. It doesn't have to be that elaborate. I mean, walking briskly to the driving range, going to a couple rotation exercises, and start swinging some clubs, 50%, then 75%, and then gradually working up to 90 to 100%.
Yeah, great
That's
advice.
the warm-up.
Great advice, David. How much strength does a golfer need to supplement his or her game? And secondly, are there different kinds of strength? Yeah,
that's those are two loaded questions, to be honest with you, because it's looking at, we have to know. I'll go back to the stories that were around not too long ago, years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, when the picture of Rory McIlroy came out, where he was deadlifting 350, 365, 300, whatever it was, a large number of weight he was deadlifting. And the golf world went crazy over, he shouldn't be lifting this much. He's getting hurt. He's getting all this, doing all that. And people were kind of having a fit with it. And I looked at it and said, Rory didn't walk into the gym the first day, put 365 pounds in the bar, and start lifting it.
Right.
There's a gradual improvement. He may have started with 100 pounds, then in the next couple of weeks he was doing 150, and then gradually working up to that. So how much strength is too much strength? There's no real answer for that. I think it's all relative to the person. I've had a female LPGA player that was working out with me for a long time prior to her getting married and moving to Houston, and she was probably 130 pounds, but pound for pound, one of the stronger people in the gym. And she would lift and do some things pretty heavy, doing some, deadlifting or movement patterns of over 200 pounds, but she was, at the time, was the number one player in the world and was swinging great and playing beautifully. But there's other people that are in there, like yourself. I wouldn't start you off with, 50-pound dumbbell chest presses or, 200-pound leg press. It was a gradual improvement of strength over the course of time that's going to benefit you. And it's basically a term called progressive overload. We started at a certain number, it might be 5 pounds. And then we're going to gradually work yourself up to a certain point with that. And then some people get to the point where like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable lifting that much more weight. Fine. And we're going to go through some different types of things. But the incorporating of power movements is probably, from a golfer perspective, is really more important to me than absolute strength, which is, how much weight can you lift? How much can you deadlift one or two times, or how much can you bench press one or two times? That to me doesn't really mean anything. It's how can you take the strength that you have and turn it into power? Because club head speed, ball speed, all the measurables that we have are more valuable to a golfer than how much do you bench?
Oh, how much absolutely correct. Yeah, absolutely.
And looking at those things. But those things help you increase power. But we don't need to have, large numbers of that. And it all depends on, how you perform. And age has a lot to do with that. A 60-year-old golfer, I'm not going to, put a bar on their back and see how much weight they can squat. I'm going to do other things that are going to imitate that squatting motion that are going to be more beneficial to them. They're going to be more advantageous to them. So there's a lot of different exercises that we can look at this instead of just looking at, hey, my absolute strength. I'm going to look at my overall. Can you stand on one leg and squat on one leg? Because that's more important to me from the golf game than it is to see you doing two leg motions or two arm movements. Because where the body works, body's going to work rotationally. So I want to make sure that you can rotate, you can stabilize, and you can decelerate throughout that whole motion. And those things to me are, again, more important than just, use a term, as you said, absolute strength. And how much do you deadlift? How much do you bench?
Yep. I agree with that. Well said. All right. I'm going to ask you this, and we'll go take another short break, David. Is there a difference, David, between being limber and being flexible? And if so, what's the difference?
I think it's a matter of terminology. Because limber to me is, the old thing I used to look at as, being Gumby, being too loose, being too, more of like a ballet dancer where they're really, able to contort their body in certain areas in there. Being flexible is basically getting your range of motion through a joint. So how much movement do we have around our shoulder joint? How much movement do we have on our hip joint? To me, limber is being almost to the point of where you're unable to stabilize your body. And that's more of kind of how I would kind of compare the two. So if we have somebody that's not very or that's really limber, they have difficulty stabilizing themselves. They have difficulty standing on one leg. They have difficulty, holding a position, or not being able to, when they get to the top of the backswing, to feel the load and to feel the deceleration. Being flexible, you can do all those things, and make the motion where you can still work on stabilization. And this is more, Dennis, if we had to break it down, it would be my difference in terminology. And somebody may have a difference in terminology with that, but really from me, being limber is, the guys that can contort themselves into a small box, doing all those types of things. So, and then being flexible is just really, can you move through a joint, through a proper range of motion around that particular joint? So that's really to me the difference between the two.
Yeah, no, that's good. All right, stand by, David. We're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to close up the show with David Donatucci, and great information. I hope you're checking it out, writing it down. You want to get limber, you want to get strength. So stay with us. We're back after this. Fabulous Freddy's is having a spectacular coupon book sale going on right now. Their sale price on coupon books for either full service or exterior only is fabulous. You can purchase a coupon book where you buy 7 and get 3 free, or you can purchase 4 and get 1 free. Head over to the Fabulous Freddy's on the southwest corner of Charleston and Fort Apache and check it out. Your car will love you for it. If you're an avid golfer like I am, how great would it be living on a golf course? It's fantastic, but you're probably thinking golf course property is just too expensive. Well, I'm here to tell you that the folks at RWM Home Loans here in Las Vegas can make it happen. RWM Home Loans in Las Vegas will access a wide variety of ways to customize a loan to help you get into that golf course property, or anywhere else for that matter. They offer first-time home buyer programs, jumbo loans up to $5 million, and even reverse mortgages. So do yourself a favor and call Casey Zari right here in Las Vegas at 702-888 888-2251. Get started on that new home or property. That's 702-888-2251, or just go to rwmhomeloans.com.
Experience a salon like no other. Charm Beauty Lounge specializes in hair, skin, and a non-surgical, painless way to fuller hair, designed to boost hair volume up to 400% without glue or solvents. Make your appointment today. Call 702-201-1655.
Hey! Hey, beautiful, come on in. Charm Beauty Lounge. Charm Beauty Lounge.
All right, David, let me ask you this, and welcome back, everybody. David, do you incorporate any kind of discussion about nutrition and health when you're working with your clients?
Yes, we do, and it's really, for me, the most important thing for everybody is more, what are you eating while you're playing? And I think that's one thing that people often overlook when they're going out and playing and having a good time. And you talked about early on the show the heat in out there in Las Vegas, and I'm gonna talk the heat in Florida, especially in the summertime. And the number one thing that has to be looked at is really hydration and water, because basically, if you become dehydrated, while you're playing, before you're playing, you can decrease performance by up to 10%. And the 10% decrease, doesn't sound like a whole lot, but okay, let's take a look at this in numbers. If you hit a club 150 yards, 10% decrease is now 135 yards. So you're hitting the ball in the bunker or in the water. Now, instead of hitting it, on the green, and you're saying, oh, well, something's wrong with my swing. Well, it may not be the swing, it could be nutrition. And it could be just simple thing as hydration. And then making sure you have a plan from an eating standpoint while you're on the course as well, that you're eating, something every, 4 to 5 holes, and it's something with a good source of protein, or it's some nuts, or it's something in there that can really sustain your energy throughout the 3, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6-hour rounds that you're playing in out there.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's why I say, don't forget to stock up on those beer nuts when you buy that 12-pack, before you tee off. What are some of the...
For every beer you have, you should have 2 waters. So then you're all right.
Exactly right. Why you always, on television, when you watch tournaments on the weekend, David, you always see these pros peeling bananas or eating an apple or something like that. What do you suggest the average guy, weekend player, eat during a round? Because that's a great point that you make.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is I'm okay with the bananas and the apples, but the things that the Tour Pro has that we don't have when we're out playing is they don't have something every 3 holes where we can grab a snack or grab something. We have the choice of when you start, on the turn, and when you finish. And every now and then the beer cart comes by with a couple of little cookie snacks on it as well that you're going through. So I always say it depends on what you can have. If you don't have any allergies or anything, I like having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that you can have half on the front 9, half on the back 9. I like having some sort of trail mix. So there is some nuts and some raisins and some, if you want to put M&Ms in there or something in there, that's fine as well. Having some fruit, having whatever you like, an apple, a banana, an orange, something in there that's helpful as well. But the biggest thing is still going to be your hydration and your water. People think the Gatorade is good. It's not bad, but I would still, the water is the number one to have. You can have a Gatorade, fine. Well, you're still going to kind of either dilute that 50% or drink it while you're drinking a water to have that, because of the sugar that's in the Gatorade and everything. And it's just it has some electrolytes that you can help in there. But I think still water is more beneficial to you to have while you're out there. And it's really, I've had a golfer who used to put up. He still does this today because he's still playing. he would put a turkey sandwich in his golf bag, no cooler, no nothing. And I'm like, I don't really feel comfortable telling people, hey, put a turkey sandwich in your bag to have that, because I'm not sure how well with the heat and everything that turkey's going to go bad pretty bad.
Right.
And then I'm going to get yelled at for giving people food poisoning. So I don't want to suggest that.
No, you're absolute, because I have had personal experience with not drinking enough water on the golf course and pounding Gatorades, and the paramedics told me, doesn't matter, you got to do the water, man. All the Gatorade, you got to do the water. So you're spot on. How do you motivate your clients, David, to keep doing what you want them to do when they are not with you at your facility?
You're talking about the tour professionals or the general people, the general population?
Anybody that you work with.
I think after a while they figure it out. You know, it's one of those things where you have the person, especially in Florida, we have a lot of snowbirds, so they're going to go back up north for a while, and those that are dedicated, they're going to keep going with it. Those that just kind of come in and need their hand held all the time, they're going to be challenged a little bit more with that situation. So, you know, it's really, for me, is my thing is to educate the individual as to why they're doing the exercises, why they're working out the way they are, what this is for, how this is helping them, and then they have to kind of figure out what's best to do on their own. And it's always great for me when a client comes back, and I've had this the other day, where somebody says, hey, the work we did in the gym, you know, really transferred to my golf swing, and I hit it great today. Thanks very much. And that's when they understand kind of what's happening. And once they start to get that, and that starts to click in with them, then it's a little easier to kind of motivate themselves to kind of get there and do the things and call you up and say, hey, what should I do today, type of thing, while they're away. And that's you know, it's tough for me to, you know, if I had, you know, time to call everybody and say, hey, are you working out today or not? But, you know, a lot of it has to come really within themselves. And once they start figuring out how this is really beneficial to them, and they'll come back and tell you, hey, I didn't do this, and you know what, my game's kind of gone bad because I haven't been working out. So and they figure it out over time.
When you start seeing the results here, that gives you a lot of motivation. You know, there are hundreds of thousands of personal trainers in the country, David. You know that. So how does David Donatucci separate himself from his competition? Because let's face it, man, you know, an arm curl is an arm curl. So how do you make it sexy?
I like to believe that I care about everybody that comes through here. So understanding that what they want and what they go through. So it's more of a, I'll use the term as, you know, it's the old Italian thing, right? I got some compassion for some people, and really from the education, as I kind of mentioned earlier, to kind of look at, hey, this is what, you know, you need to do, and this is why you're doing that, and this is why we're not doing a curl today, or this is why we are doing a curl today. You know, this is why we're doing this hip rotation drill. This is what it's for. This is how it's going to transfer to your game, and give them the knowledge that they're going to improve upon that. So, you know, that's really where I like to believe I'm separating myself from that, because you said it. You can go into a gym. I can bring into my facility here in Jupiter, and I can make you sweat. I can make you feel like you had a great workout. But did we accomplish anything? You know, I think at the end of the day, every individual that has a trainer, that has somebody they're working with, that are listening today, to say, you know, after they get done with the workout, okay, what was that for? What did we do that for? What was that exercise for? Ask questions. You know, that's the biggest thing for me, is people don't ask enough questions to kind of go through that, to help them understand why they're going through that exercise. If you want to just sweat, you want to work off, hey, I went out and had a 12-pack last night, I want to sweat that off, fine, that's one thing. But if you're looking to kind of improve your golf game, or you're trying to improve your overall health, that's something completely different.
Yeah, I assume the Ary Center is a membership deal, David?
Yes, it is. We have our programs were based on, you come in, you call up, hey, I want to come in, try it out. You'll go through a full evaluation. Myself and a gentleman named Dr. Mickey Masucci will take you through a pretty thorough evaluation. We'll go through we'll test some other metrics with you as well, and then we'll take you through a workout, and then we'll, from there, based on what you tell me your goals are, your limitations are, your surgeries, your aches and your pains, we'll discuss a plan. And one of the benefits of the Ary Center for Athletic Development is we have a full scale shift here. We have physical therapists, we have sports performance, we have a certified athletic trainer,
Awesome.
we have
Awesome.
we have a chiropractor here, and we're just bringing in more of a mental performance coach to kind of look at some things as well, so we can sit down and go through that aspect of some things. So we can advise you in the right direction, and then you choose. So we're going to give you a plan. Here's the full Monty, all the way down to the basics.
Right.
And then you decide what you want to do. But every time you come in, you're going to have a program designed for you. You're going to have a write-up for you. You're going to have somebody kind of helping you through those workouts and leading you, to kind of help you become a better you than when you walk.
Yeah. Real quickly before we're out of time, but I want to ask you, do you ever get asked to travel with your professional players?
All the time.
Really?
I used to travel a lot when I was younger. And everybody said, "Oh, that's so great to go out and tour and travel." And I'm like, it gets old quickly, especially if you have. I'm trying to run a facility and also train athletes and do all that sort of thing.
Right.
So every day I'm away from the facility is a day that I feel we need to get something better. So I have trained up a couple guys that are with me, Austin and Messiah, that basically now do a lot more traveling than I do. So they're out on tour, and we have a pretty good plan and a structure in place that we know what all of our individuals, all of our athletes are doing, so that when any one of us are out there, it's the same program and it's the same structure.
Right.
So that we have things that we can put in place that can say, hey, this is what you need to be doing. Right. This is how you go through it. And it's been working out great. And the players who are a lot younger than me like the younger guys too out there on tour. So that helps out from my side.
Yeah, no, that's great. Anyway, David, I appreciate so much you taking time out. I know you have a very busy schedule, but just great information. And I hope that our viewers adhere to it to help them get a little healthier, help them play some better golf. And I look forward to having you back on the show sooner than later, my friend.
That would be great, Dennis. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. All right, David Donatucci, everybody. We're going to step away, take another short break, come back, finish up the show. Stay with us.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence, AI, has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
Innovation begins at a single point. Elements, each with their unique character. Fire-forged steel creates unprecedented control. Chemistry delivers a touch so soft, combined to create a level of performance previously unimagined. Like magic, the Elixir, the new tour ball from Encore.
All right, great show, great information from David Donatucci, and it's a very, very important aspect, again, as I said, not only for your daily life, but also to improve your golf game. Next week, we've got a very, very special show. We have a young man. He's about 13, 14 years old. That's going to be in studio. He is just doing amazing things in the world of golf merchandise. and you're really going to enjoy meeting him. I'm looking forward to meeting him in person. He's coming out to Las Vegas, lives in the South with his parents, so make sure you tune in. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers. Always enjoy having you in. Keep it in the short stuff. We'll be back same time, same place next week. So long, everybody.